So apparently from last week, you guys enjoyed my uh, from the bed stories. I guess if it's called JLJ this evening or JLJ after dark, then why not, right? Coming from the bed. So I'm coming from the bed, actually, daytime. It's morning. On Sunday, it's Memorial Day weekend. I'm relaxing. I'm relaxing and basically almost kind of having a staycation. Trying not do very minimal work at all. Watching TV, taking naps, relaxing, just not doing much because I am tired. So tonight I want to bring to you guys. You guys seem like my stories too. I think some of my stories. I was watching the numbers from last week. I'm like, oh, let me tell you another story. I was thinking about this today. Actually, it's my friend's birthday, and I was thinking about this. He's part of this group. So 22 years ago, 23 years ago, I got a job with my best friend at the time. And we were working in an office in Oakland. I was living in San Francisco. We worked in Oakland. We had to take the little BART train under the water and go across to the other side. And yes, people were like, is that scary? And like, a little bit. We get used to it after a while. We did that for about a year. And we shared the office with Bart. That was kind of funny. Then they decided to move the main offices to like the Central Valley, kind of. So they went east, while Nick and we lived in San Francisco. And he was like, we're going to stay in San Francisco. So we found a company called Regis, who's still here. They're still out there. Shout out to Regis, who would rent out offices space. And it was one of the kind that it's one of the kind. Wow, that's English. It's one of those businesses that is a full service. They had you had to be swiped in. They had a lounge for guests if you came. They did your mail, so they always had a mail person do your mail and packages. We had our own phones, but they offered a phone service, but we didn't. We had our own phones, but they didn't offer phone service. Our first office, because after we had two offices, I've talked about this for a long time. We had two offices. Our first office was on, I'm trying to think how, I guess it was a south facing window, two persons, just me and him, small, but high ceiling. It was really cute. I sat in front of the door. We had a partition between us. We have our computers. I can look at his eyes. I can see his eyes. I can see my eyes. I would look like, what are you looking at? What are you doing over there? Like, we used to always laugh all the time about that. Like, what are you doing over there? Because I couldn't see his computer. What was going on? We used to have jokes about that. But, and then it was a long hall. It was long hallways. Then they had a coffee station area and refrigerator and stuff and all that kind of in there too. But it was a long hallway, and then they had interior offices. The ones that were interior by us were one person offices, no windows, like a long rectangle. You couldn't do much in there, so it's kind of funny. Years ago, we thought getting one of those, like for our storage stuff, but we didn't do that. But anywho, I was thinking about this because a friend of mine, it's his birthday today. Another friend of mine. We met at this place. We met a lot of people at Regis. There were all kinds of companies there. I think my friend Laurel May, who passed away years ago, she ran a magazine 944 out of there. And there were people who had other companies. We were just like a hodgepodge of people. And I actually gained a relationship out of there by somebody who works there, and that was kind of crazy. And it was a lot of fun. I will say it was a lot of fun. We had a good time there. And I liked the offices. I really liked it. We later moved to another office that had no windows, but we liked it better. It was bigger, and it was way bigger, and we had more room. I had a lot of files. I needed room for my files. and stuff. And it was closer to the kitchen, which we liked. We were right there. We liked it better. But anyway, when we were in our first office, me and Nick we played music. We were busy. We worked hard. And we had so much to do, and we were always on the phone. We always would debrief after every phone call. And just who knows what we were saying. I'm chuckling as I'm thinking about it right now. Because there's some things I can't repeat on here because somebody happens to watch from that time period. I don't want to do that. But we had all kind of stuff going on. But I remember this guy knocks on our door one day. We're like, oh my God, we're being too loud. He's like, no, I love it. And we're like, okay. And I remember he came in, and I thought he was kind of cute, and we were both, because he's kind of a redhead, and he was British, and so of course me and Nick we were both Anglophiles, like British, but he was just saying, he just basically said, you guys are hilarious, because I don't see you. We have our doors open. I hear you guys, and you guys are just like, I can tell you guys you work hard too. Like he said, he was like, I can tell you guys work hard, but you guys have a good time in here. It just makes me, because he's by himself, he loved it. And that struck up a friendship. And so I started calling him British Dave. His name was Dave, and I call him British Dave. And it just kind of stuck, and he calls me Lottie. It's really funny. That's how we met, and we met other people. We had people on different floors. We met, and the whole thing. And I just was thinking that's like 20 years ago. That time goes by so fast. I actually remember the best times, and I say gaining friendships, and then I was in my 30s and my 30s. Oh my God. It was like I was still partying. That was my party days, but I was getting upscale partying now. Before it was just like, I go to places, but now I knew people in certain positions, and I had been there in San Francisco for so long that I knew doormen, I knew club promoters, I knew bartenders, so I would get in for free, or just get out not to wait in line, and that was gay and straight, didn't matter where, and people I knew people. So there were places. It was really the whole bar culture was happening in 2000s. I think of places like R Bar and oh my God, what was that? Well, I used to go to all the straight places. There was a whole area in the theater district. It was Calibri was a great restaurant to go to over there, but R Bar was really good. And was it? Oh my God, Swig was called. Swig was really good. They had Slide. It was you actually went down a slide to go into. Then there was my place I used to go to, the Ambassador. Oh my God, that place became I was making so much money, you guys. I was making money hand over fist. I was paying my bills off. I had bills I was paying, but at the same time, I was making so much money that this place, Ambassador, it was so ritzy titsy. You go in, it was a neighborhood bar, but oh my God, my girl Carly used to work there. It was so expensive. We didn't care. You get a booth. It was full of booths, these giant booths with the padding in the back and everything. And each booth had a phone, an actual phone. You could call the other booths. So you thought somebody was cute, we can call the other booth. Like, hi, how are you? It was the craziest thing. I have so many pictures from there. So I've taken everybody there. But it was expensive. But we didn't care. We had all the time. A couple places on Polk Street, because I lived near Polk Street. And then of course, 1015 Folsom, the End Up, there's stuff over by 30 and Harrison. That's all the straight places. Then you got the gay places. There was like the Cafe and the Phoenix and Badlands. And I mean, it was the heyday. Like, everybody was clubbing. The Box. Everybody was clubbing. Because I think about it, my 90s life was one way, and that was my 20s. But my 90s life was one way, and it was a different type of clubbing. But in the 2000s, it became a little more upscale. Everybody was dressing up a little more. The line culture was really happening. You see celebrities while you're out. I remember once, so my cousins and came to town from Ohio, and we were leaving my house, and I was like, let me give you guys a good night. We got fun. Like, my cousin James is here. We had a good time. And one was my niece, so my cousin's and a niece. And we walk out, go down 2 blocks to catch a cab. And this guy with a limo drives by and just goes, he saw us as a group. There's all these pretty girls and me. And he goes, you want a limo? Where you guys going? So we're going to Swig. You know, we gotta go blah, blah, over it. And he's like, I think it was like something like, I'll just charge you $20. I'm in between gigs at the moment. I'm waiting for the next people to come. It's not until later. I guess I can drive you there. You go in style. And people were like, James Lott Jr., of course it would happen to you. And we did. We all piled in the car, and he had champagne. We drank champagne, and we went over there. And when we arrived at Swig, even though I knew the door people, and there was a long line. They knew me. They were going to let me in. But they were like, come on in. I was like, that's right, bitches. And we went in there and had a good time. I remember coming to LA during that time period too. I would come down and party with my brother Max was here. And we go to West Hollywood or Hollywood, all these places back in the 2000s. Like it was starting to 2000 until I moved here in 2009. I would say 2000s to the 2010s, beginning of 2010s. It was the height of it was all that to be seen club culture. Yeah, we would dance, have a good time, but we wanted to be seen. So it's like, it was a big deal to go out to the clubs, certain ones. We go, have a good time. And Max was like me. He knew everybody, so we get in, don't worry about it. But I was going back to San Francisco. I was thinking about that as I'm thinking about this whole thing, going, wow, that was it was so much fun. It was just so much fun. And the thing is, we did work. We worked when you live in San Francisco, you can't, back then especially, you can't play around, so to speak. Like you have to have money coming in, or else you just would be on the street. I mean, it was really expensive back then. I always think, because I'm here in LA, and the sticker shock that's happening here in LA, I'm like, I remember when I first started in San Francisco. And to live in San Francisco was very expensive. It was no joke. And I just remember LA was cheaper back then. Like, living here was cheaper. I had friends who had houses for $500 a month, all that stuff. And I'm like, how is that happening where my studio apartment, folks, in 1999, that's when I moved in, my studio apartment was $875. And it wasn't even a studio. It was called an efficiency, because I had no kitchen. Yes, I had no kitchen. I had a kitchen area, kind of, that I had to make into a kitchen, but I had no stove. I had what I call the college dorm small refrigerators. It was crazy, but I was single. Anyway, so I just know that it was expensive. We all had 2 or 3 jobs, or we finally got that. When I got to 2000s, I finally got that job where I only had to have 1 job. So I always had 2 or 3 jobs, almost always. What was funny was I was living still in that place, and by 2000 or so, I was working at 2001. I'm working Stanley Dean Witter. Then 9/11 happened. As a whole story. I left them and I went to a video store. My friend hired me. I need a job. He's like, I just need a job. So I would have these high profile jobs at places. And next job be low profile. High profile job, low profile. I'd have a job where I was cleaning watches at one place, but then I was a manager at another. Like there was no rhyme or reason to anything. And nobody cared. It was just like I needed work. You need work, you gotta work. You got money coming in. At one point, I was getting paid every 5 days from somewhere. I remember looking that up going, I was looking at my kind of plan stuff. Remember, I was raising kids too in Sacramento, so I was like sending money to Sacramento. I worked retail jobs, so I would get discounts on clothes for my girls. That was something that was very big for me too. I would get discounts. So I know how to work the system. I was like, that's why, James. And clothes for myself. And I worked at food service places. I had food for myself. So, I always worked it out. I was always very resourceful. But at this point, when I got to the 2000s, I was working at a video store, and turned out, because I didn't want to be manager. I didn't want to be in charge. I didn't want any of that. I was like, nope, I'm good. But I got this, somehow it ran into, I got a job Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And that weekends off and nights, you never get that in retail. It's always just the hardest shifts to get. And I was like, I remember being so lucky. I'm so lucky. I'm like, that is just like the bomb. And I was making enough money to support myself. I had that one job. I was good. So I was like, okay. So I was living there, living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden. I was having a good time. When I got the other job, a friend Nick needed help, and I got the other job, which was way more money, and it started out weekends and stuff off, but you know how that goes. It was salary. I was good, and then I was thinking I was going to move back to LA in the early 2000s. I was going to come to. I brought all my stuff to LA, except for a few clothes and a few things, a few trinkets. But I moved into this room we're in, and I had all these boxes in this room. I was going to give myself like 3 months and then come to LA, which is so funny. I would have came to LA 20 years ago. But I was like, but then I got that job. I actually liked it in the beginning. It was kind of fun. And I had moved in with my friends. And we each had our own bedrooms, our own bathrooms. We were having dinners together. We're all like trying to make it in. It was like Sex and the City. We're all trying to make it in San Francisco. I kind of liked it. So 3 months turned to 7 years. That's the guy. I feel like Gilligan's Island, the 3-hour tour. And I was like, no, Atlanta started 7 years. So, but I'm glad it was cool. I'm glad I came back when I was supposed to come back. But the 2000s had a lot of fun. But it was just a different type because I was making more money. I was dressing differently. It was a whole different tier for me of life. And I'm glad I got a chance to experience that in San Francisco. I got there with nothing in 1993. And I had to start over. We had to start over. And me and my friends, we found our way. There was like 5 of us, and we all became successful in San Francisco. I became an activist, was out there fighting for rights, and then I was working, raising kids, living my life. I mean, I built a life in San Francisco with very little help from a lot of people. I did it. And it taught me how to grow up. And I don't know if they have that anymore, if that still happens. But I know for me, I'll never forget it. It prepared me for a lot of stuff. But anyway, back to the fun stuff. So anyway, it's my friend's birthday. Happy birthday to him. He knows who he is. I wish I had birthday privately. But I'm just thinking about that time period. And there's some folks who are no longer with us. I ran to one person recently from that time period here in LA. And I see some on Facebook. Some of us are still on there on Facebook. Everybody's living their lives. I mean, it's just kind of, at least I can smile. I can think back and smile on that time period, which is always a good thing. Always a good thing. You can think back on any time period and smile. I'll leave it there at that. This is JLJ After Dark, even though it's light out. But, I'm releasing this at nighttime. This week is JLJ After Dark this week. Last week was JLJ this evening, so check those out. This week is JLJ After Dark. They released at 8 o'clock Pacific. They come out late. Where evening comes out at 5 p.m. Pacific. These come out at 8 p.m. Pacific, so a little later. So sorry, folks, it was a little late for you, but it's after dark. It's lighter later these days in LA. Audio and video. Check them out. Like, subscribe, comment. I've been loving the comments. Thank you, everybody. I'll talk to you next time.